This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com.
Of course, we're not too far from WrestleMania, but we're also not too far removed from AEW's Revolution. By now, the preliminary buy rate is out, and it appears to have set a record for AEW. But you and I, at the start of last week's show, said we'd talk about it next week. Again, because we were putting that show in the can before the show actually happened. Mm-hmm. Now, with the benefit of hindsight and the follow-up effort from Dynamite that aired, where we heard from Jon Moxley and we heard from Kenny Omega, what was your takeaway from the Revolution pay-per-view, where we saw Sting in action for the first time in a long time in that cinematic match? We saw the announcement of Christian joining the new league, and of course, Big Show now is with you guys as well. And oh, by the way, the exploding barbed wire death match actually happened, and Meltzer said it was, up until the final explosion, perhaps the best exploding style match in history. What do you think?
Well, I can't speak to that as well as Meltzer can, because he's thoroughly watched all those matches, because I guess many of them originated from Japan. And Meltzer's probably the foremost expert on wrestling things that happen in Japan that I know anyway. I thought the pay-per-view, if you exclude the last 30 seconds where the big explosion was supposed to go, and it bombed. It was a malfunction of the Pyro. And the irony of that is that they had, because of all the fire marshal, the safety precautions and so forth, they had run through that several times, the right. Explosions. And they worked great. Boom, big, great. Just what we needed. And then when it came showtime, you never know when you're doing live television. McMahon always said nothing could go wrong when you're doing live TV. Well, there's an exception or two. But nonetheless, I think I really love the pay-per-view itself. If you can exclude from your mind as a viewer, if you can get off that hill of just talking about one issue, and that was the malfunctioning Pyro, then I think most people are going to say it was a pretty damn good show. I thought that when you're working in a ring like Moxley and Omega with barbed wire around and all the gimmicks. By the way, our man Bull Ramos, aka Dave Silva, sent me some nice swag. I didn't know that box of gimmicks store. That's a hell of a place, man. That's where it came from, right? Box of gimmicks.
Boxofgimmicks.com, man. We got lots of fun stuff over there. As
really?
You just recently found out with a special delivery.
Yeah, it was great. It was really great. So anyway, I thank you guys for sending me that stuff. But I thought the show was strong, except for that miss on the Pyro at the end. If that is if the 30 seconds at the end is going to be your own sole and only criteria, folks, of whether you like the show or not, whether it was a good show or not, you might be, just in my opinion, you might be overanalyzing just a little bit, because the matches before, all the stuff leading up to that, I thought was strong. I thought it was strong. So I enjoyed the pay-per-view, and as you mentioned, it did good. I think it did record business. And then somebody said, "Well, it only did business because of that barbed wire match." Well, then we should just have the barbed wire match that had nothing else,
right?
And that, using that logic. So I thought it was good, and I enjoyed the hell out of working with Excalibur and Tony on that show. So I don't know what more to say about it other than I enjoyed it. I'm sure the talents, I know they were. I talked to them. Very frustrated because they worked their ass off.
Yes.
Getting pricked with barbed wire from head to toe. And so now all we're talking about is not their work, not their effort, not what they put their bodies through. The malfunctioning Pyro becomes a story. And to me, that pay-per-view was much more than just the Pyro, the gimmick at the end. But that's just me. And I'm biased too. I'll just have to admit, I work for AEW. Tony Khan takes care of me, and I'm happy to be there. But we've got to be somewhere along the way. We've got to be objective. It was a failure, a Pyro failure.
Right.
I don't believe it was a wrestling failure whatsoever, not even close. So other than the Pyro situation, Conrad, I thought it was the best pay-per-view we've had.
Let's talk about Christian. Big debut for him. Tony Khan had promised a Hall of Fame caliber talent and one of his favorite wrestlers. And the big announcement was Christian. That was just a few days after it was announced that Paul White is going to be joining the promotion. We saw him make his Dynamite debut, and Paul even teased Christian's pay-per-view appearance. What'd you think? You've got two former WWE legends now on the AEW roster.
Well, what we brought into the locker room was two veterans that should be able to help our young roster. And a lot of people don't understand that as well as perhaps they should. I don't know that how many matches Tony Khan plans on using Paul White for. I have no clue. But he's got himself in pretty good shape. He's dropped a lot of weight, which is good for his just general health. But I think what we're looking for from those guys is there's some name identity there. There's a tune-in factor there. If nothing else, a curiosity aspect of that component. But I do believe that, and I've always believed in this. That's one of the reasons I was able to get Mick Foley signed way back in the day, was that we needed freshness in the locker room from positive examples of people. And Mick was certainly fit that bill. There's no reason that guys like Big Show, and Paul White, I'm glad I didn't say it on TV, boy. We were given explicit instructions, but sometimes old habits are hard to break.
Of course.
And of course, I could tell you that from the minute Christian got on in our compound, he was talking to talent, and he was coaching up. And he was giving guys great pointers that were, very objective and beneficial. So I think that the additions of those guys are positive. It's not the old deal. Well, they're just taking WWE cast-offs. That's a defiant, easy way to put it. But I just don't believe that to be true. These two guys, they're both mature guys, north of 40, that want to contribute. And they know that if they can develop that other skill set, what we've been talking about here in the locker room, with the talent, coaching them up, being positive role models, and helping them, that's where their great value is going to come in over the long haul. Short term, I think, especially Christian, he's ready to go. And he can illustrate his teaching and his philosophy so much better if the talent's watching him work. So I'm very happy we got both those guys on board. And maybe not for the exact reasons that many of the fans are thinking. How many great 5-star matches can they have? Hell, I don't know.
Right.
Nobody knows. But I know that I've seen with my eyes that they can help the talents with their experience and their maturity. And so I'm excited about that aspect of it, to say the least.
Your boy Roddy has another question here. Who do you think had the biggest pop you ever witnessed? When and where was it? I think a lot of people point back to the night Mick Foley won the title and Stone Cold did the big run in. Boy, they're in Worcester. They were just going bananas. Does another big pop like that stick out in your memory?
Well, I was in Worcester. I was sick. I had the Bell's palsy, and I didn't call that match. I've said many times, if there's one match in my career that I wish I could have called that I didn't, it would be Foley winning the title.
Yeah.
And, well, there's a lot of Chicago is one market that you could always count on for great pops. And so is the MSG, Madison Square Garden, of course. Triple H returning to the Garden.
Big one.
Huge. Anytime Austin was gone and he came back, it was like the Messiah showing himself.
Oh, what about Hogan the night after WrestleMania 18? That was a big one, I'm sure.
That was huge. It's hard to pick one.
Right.
Because they keep popping in your head that did real well. But, the Garden and Chicago were the two cities, if I had to narrow it down to two markets that always you could rely on when something was really big and you're fully expecting something equally as big as far as the audience reaction, you get that in New York City and Chicago almost without fail.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.